Hello, you Mayhem Makers. I'm Mindy with Quilting Mayhem, and welcome back to another Kona block of the month. We are up to month 11, which is for November. We're almost there, almost the end of the year, which is kind of scary. But once again, lovely block. They're all techniques we've done before. So you've got your half square triangles and your flying geese. Pretty simple, makes a stunning block, but we're going to get into it. We're going to start with step one, like we always do. Half square triangles. So you draw that diagonal line on the back side of your lighter fabric, have them right sides together, sew that 1/4 inch seam to either side of the line, because then you will cut it apart, trim them, and have triangles like this. All right, so make those, set those aside. We're going to move on to the flying geese. Now, it's going to be the same technique, you're just doing them in 3 different sizes. So we'll start with, there's really tiny ones, which I know some of you don't love, because I know the smaller it gets, the little harder it is to be precise with them. So I'm going to hopefully give you maybe some tricks that'll help you with that. You will have your white background rectangles or whatever color you're using if you're not following the Robert Kaufman color scheme. And then you're going to have your other fabric, your squares, draw a diagonal line on those. And to start out, you're going to place 1 square on that rectangle with that diagonal line going from the outside to the center. Now when you sew it, and I don't know if you can see here, I'm pretty much on that line, which is not always easy to do, especially teeny tiny lines. If anything, if you're concerned about things not coming out, your geese not quite being right, sew to this outer side of the line. So if you sew just a little bit on the outer edge of that line to this side, when you go to fold this over, if anything, this is going to be maybe a little too big, which is okay because you can trim it in the end. All right, but that will give you a little more. Because if you accidentally sew too far inward, it then shortens how much of that triangle you have. And that's where you run into problems, right? We don't like when it's too short on those 2 edges. So if anything, stitch just inside that line when you're making those geese so that it will actually fit. And you can always test it before you trim it, because what will happen, of course, is you're going to trim 1/4 inch from here. You're going to press it open like that, and then we're going to take that next square, place it on. You'd think by now I would be better at doing this whole backwards, trying to line things up. But you're going to go from this corner then to the middle when you stitch again. All right? So then it will look like that. And once again, you can always test it. You can fold it over, you can press it. Make sure that these 2 edges fit like they should before you trim and press to make geese like this. They're so tiny, but they're cute. And look, I have my 1/4 inch here. You should have your 1/4 inch also, so just measure there. It should work out just fine for you. All right, if you're having problems, let me know. We will help you out. And then what will happen is you'll have 4 of these. You're going to leave 2 of them regular, and then you have some more background squares. You're going to make 2 sets like this where you're going to sew 1 to either side of your geese. And that's what's going to start going around this square. So I'm going to move the camera around so I can lay all this out so you can see what it will look like before you start to sew, because we are making kind of that center star before we keep adding the next section. But you're going to follow the same flying geese technique for all the rows, all the different sizes. It's going to be the same. You're going to have that diagonal line. If anything, just sew just to the inside so you have a little extra space. And then just make sure you're measuring them, checking them, that they're the right size, trimming off any little excess. Like if there's a little bit, just trim it off so it stays nice and straight. And hopefully you just don't run into a problem of it not being quite enough on those corners. That's when it gets a little fussy. All right, so I'm going to switch this camera around. We'll show you what's next. All right, everybody. So just as a reminder, steps 3 was making these guys. So, as I throw them. Same technique. So just make sure you look at how your fabric layout is. You're going to keep this darker color on one side, the lighter color on the other, and you're going to make 4 of those. And then you're going to do the bigger ones. And same thing, just make sure you get your colors in the right placement when you do them. So you're gonna make those. That's steps 3 and 4. So we're on to step 5, where we start making the star. So as you see, I have 2 units that look like this and 2 that are like that, and this center. So you sew these sides to your center, and then you have your top and your bottom that are gonna go on. All right, so I'll show you how it looks as we go. All right, so you'll see these units are on there, and then I'm going to start putting top and bottom. Reminder, make sure that you are getting your edges to meet here. Sometimes they want to be a little fussy. So if anything, make sure you pin at the beginning and the end. And then as you're matching these, you are matching your seams. So I'm going to flip it over, match up these seams, and pin. And if you're really new, you may even want to pin this, like this beginning. Notice how it's trying to be a little funky. You can always pin these beginning and ends. You know, you've been quilting a while, that's not necessary. You know how to line all those up. But if you're brand new, I highly suggest it. And I know it seems excessive, but this is what gets you your precise blocks that come out square, if you don't try to pin your finger underneath. And you don't end up with any waffling or waviness, which is very common for newbies. So if that's been a frustrating point for you as a beginner, it may be because you're not pinning these, and then your block like will bow inward, and it just, as you keep going block by block, putting them into your quilt, it just gets worse and worse. So it is important that you want to keep these points matched up. So if you're a beginner, you want to look like this. All right, I'll be back. All right, so there is our little cute little star. I love it. You can make just a bunch of those, but we're going to add on. So now we're going to take those flying geese we did from step 3, and you will have done the same thing. You'll have taken 2 of the sets and added background squares, and 2 of the sets will go on the sides. All right, and so we're just going to keep doing same technique as we go. So I will be right back, but we're going to go from this to this. Isn't this cute? But I'm a big fan of star blocks, so, you know, this just makes my heart happy. Now the question is, oh, let me not try to zoom in that close for you. I just don't have a table big enough or the camera shot wide enough to show you, but we're going to keep adding these pieces. And it doesn't help that I'm short, so I'll just kind of do that. So once again, put those side pieces on, and then you have your top units that have your backgrounds. Now, make sure you lay out these corners so that they look correct before you go putting your blocks together. All right. So once again, we'll go from this to this. Look how cute this block is. I love it. This would make a gorgeous like neutral quilt, which I really haven't done one yet. I love this. Of course, if I read it, I do different colors. I do something more bright and fun, but I do love how this block turned out. So hopefully you are enjoying it as much as I have, because it just makes me happy. Those flying geese, hopefully you've mastered them by now. We've done plenty of them. And so hopefully they no longer give you some grief. And of course, half square triangles, we've been doing lots of those. So you should be pros at all this. But if you have any problems, if you're struggling, especially the little ones, like the smaller you get, the harder it is to be as accurate. If you're having problems, reach out. Call me at the shop, email info@quiltingmayhem. If you're local, come see us at the store. I will gladly help you get through any sticky points that you have. But otherwise, make sure you're posting your blocks in the Facebook group, sharing as you go. I'm so excited to see how these quilts are coming out, because the end is near. Soon we will be putting them together. So make sure you are following us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, all of those things. That's where we share all our inspirations, our tutorials, what's going on, what's new. And if you want to keep up to date, make sure you're liking, make sure you're sharing. Share us with the world. That's how we get out there and just continue to grow and be there for you. So I hope you have a lovely day and keep on stitching.